Welcome back to it. This is another episode of the Stevens Minor Family History series I've been doing. Today, got a special guest, my brother Bob. Is going to talk about his perspective, his remembrances of growing up and so forth, mom and dad. And
I don't know that I'll cover everything. I might leave a few stories out to protect the.
To protect the innocent.
Protect both of us, probably.
Right, yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah. So, starters, Bob, go ahead and introduce yourself. Some folks outside of our own family are going to watch this, so introduce yourself, kind of where your family now, and so forth.
Well, we're filming this. Mike came down to Cincinnati to visit, so we're doing it here in Cincinnati. As I like to tell my older siblings, I'm one of the younger ones in the family, so I'm number 8 out of 11 kids. Still hanging on to my 50s for another few months. So there's not many of us under 60 at this point, but currently we've been in Cincinnati since 1989, actually. My wife Kelly and I married in '85. We moved down to Ohio in '86, 87, probably 88, closer to 87, and have been down here and raised our family here. The 3 kids. Brad is the oldest. Brad's 35. He's a CPA, works for Deloitte. He's now here in Cincinnati.
Now, was he actually born in Columbus, or since he was born in Columbus?
Well, he was born in Newark. That was when we moved down in 86, actually. Brad was born in Newark, Ohio. So to his chagrin, he's a Buckeye, which I guess by birth, but he's not a big Ohio State fan, so I want to get that out there. Anyway, so Brad's 35, his wife Shelly. They have three little girls. Maddie's 5, Riley's 3, and Emily, or we call her Emmy, is a year and a half. So 3 grandkids, a blessing and just a wonderful thing to have the kids around us and the grandkids. Jeff is our middle child. Jeff is in the seminary here in Cincinnati in the diocese. Working his way through the 7 years to become a priest. So he's in his 6th year. At the end of this year, he'll have his diaconate ordination, and then he'll have one more year of school and seminary. And God willing, and if it all works out, he'll be ordained a priest in a little under 2 years, actually, at this point. So. After this year, one more year of seminary.
So for just folks who are not Catholic, so he's going to be ordained a deacon, which is just the next step.
Yeah,
be ordained a priest. Right?
Yeah. So they're all the seminary, the 6th year, all the seminarians are ordained a deacon. That's the 1 year before the priestly or the holy orders, and so. He'll be for a year, he'll be a deacon in the church. He can preach homilies and so forth. He can't officiate the mass and so forth, but
you can do baptisms and
you can do baptisms. Right? The big thing is he'll be able to preach homilies at masses. And then
probably could officiate at marriages too, right?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I'm not positive on that, but that I think so.
Okay.
So yeah, it's that'll be exciting and looking forward to that. It's been a long journey for him of discernment and moving through his life post college, really, to get to that point.
And then lastly, you got your world travel.
Yeah, Christy is our youngest. Christy's 29. She's been in Cincinnati. She lives here in Cincinnati. Been here about a year. She was in LA for about 4 or 5 years prior. She currently is working for a medical website. She's always she's been a writer a lot of her life, I guess, from college on. So she does articles for a medical website. Loves to travel. She's currently in Europe. She went right at the end of October. Plans to be there a few months and travel all over. So she's our world traveler and adventurous type, and it's great to have her back in Cincinnati.
Well,
so.
today you're getting some pictures her. She's at Fatima, so
Yeah, in Portugal right now, and so very excited for her, and is a great young woman. Myself, I'm still a golf pro. I've been maybe a little later. I'll talk about getting into golf and all that, and some of our family experiences.
Yeah, we got some old pictures of.
But still working as a golf pro at a country club here in the Dayton, Cincinnati area, and probably a few more years left to do that. We'll see how that plays out, but a lot of people will say, "Boy, what a great job, Bob! You play golf and you maybe give a few lessons." And the bottom line, it's just a job, and it's been a great job. It's every job has its up and downs, but certainly it's been a great career to be kind of take a childhood game that we both played, and mom and dad started when they were little.
Yeah, I want to say they started playing golf around 1970.
Yeah.
My dad's brother, our Uncle Charles, he always played, and I think even before mom and dad started playing, Dean and Dorothy played, our aunt and uncle Dean and Dorothy played.
Well, and just on that note, I not to throw a little shot at Jim, our brother, but there were two bits of advice that Jim gave me right around the time I got married. One was, I think they both were at the wedding, at our wedding, which one was, what are you going to do the rest of your life? You can't play golf the rest of your life. So, that, and the other was,
what's your day job, right?
And the other was, so you gonna wait to have kids or what? And of course, Brad was born 9 months and 1 day after we were married. So, and it all worked out good. So, anyways, that kind of brings you up to date of who I am, and for those that don't know it, and a little bit about my family.
All right, so those who don't know, Bob's not quite 2 years younger than me. I was born September of 1960. Bob in July of 1962. And Smurf, I'm going to share some photos as we go along here, as we kind of reminisce about our childhood, our parents, and so forth. So the first, we'll go right here. So there's Bob. There's us, Bob's baptism day. This is me down here, bottom left. That's Carol there. Jim standing next to me. Our sister Jeannie. Merrick. That's Tom and Sue. The two oldest. They were Bob's godparents, and then Amory is off to the right there. So, what's some of your recollections of our early years?
Well, the early years, I mean, certainly for me, when I think about early years, I go right back to our house on Braille.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly remember the walks to kindergarten. Holcomb, was it?
Yeah.
The kindergarten. Now, back then, it seemed like 5 miles, but I think it's only probably a few blocks, wasn't it?
It's a half mile.
Yeah.
It was
a half a mile. So it was a little long, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in kindergarten, it seems like it took half a day.
Well, think about it, and grew up in Detroit. We're left. It was 4 or 5 years old, walking half mile to school.
That's amazing, really. That back then you could do that. Maybe not so much now. Of course, they have school buses. So,
so that's Bob.
And then certainly,
Bob, that's the backyard. Bob and playpen in our backyard. That's the garage. Looks like maybe me and Amory or me and Jim over there in the little pool we had on the.
That had to be. I was maybe a year
a year and a half. Yeah, maybe a year. This might have been 1963. Interesting that the first few pools we had were on the concrete driveway. So, no diving.
Right.
And certainly
just Christ the King. You know, Christ the King was a big part of all of our lives.
Mhm.
I mean, even as an adult, people would say, you know, well, where are you from? Well, I'm from Detroit. And they say, where in Detroit? And the first thing, you know, I would say is, well, I grew up in Christ the King Parish. And then they might say, oh, you know, they might say they heard of it, or they might, it was 6 Mile and Lasher wasn't Lasher kind of
Lasher was
a little bit
west.
down, but
Yeah, a little
it
bit
was
down.
close, but it's a bigger road. So,
Well, where Christ the King was on, so we lived on Braille, and then there was, again, walking to school, Christ the King was about a half mile.
Yeah.
Same as Holcomb.
Yeah.
But that was on Trinity, which
Yeah.
was, there was Braille, then there was Pearson, and then Trinity.
yeah,
And so, and it was over at it was over up on Trinity and Grand River basically.
Yeah.
And then 6 Mile, they kind of came in like a V, 6 Mile Grand River crossing.
Right. Right. But certainly, you know, the Christ the King went there for all eighth grade, you know, 1 through 8, and you know, we went to mass there every week. It was kind of, I mean, I think you kind of identified yourself by, you know, I heard someone say one time, maybe as a Catholic even, it's like, well, where are you from? And a typical response, like when you grew up in a small church in a school like that, is you say, well, I grew up at Christ the King Parish. So you kind of identified. It was almost like identifying who you were with where you went to school and the church that you attended. It was kind of, I don't know that's done as much these days, but
but it's interesting that you mentioned that, because which I will share eventually, but I did an interview with our Uncle Ralph, and Ralph was talking about that. Oh yeah, he was from St. Bridget's, and he was from, or they were, that family was from this parish. So yeah, it was very much parish oriented.
Right. You know, so a lot of memories. I one little story from Christ the King. We had, you know, we always enjoyed the when we had the school breaks. Obviously, when you got to the Christmas time and the school was ending for the Christmas break, and I remember we always had a play of some sort. We had we had like a little church. They set up like a store, so people would sell things, Christmas items, ornaments, and different stuff. I remember that. And then one year there was in the class I was at, I don't know what grade, it probably was 5th, 6th grade, maybe potentially. And we had the teacher had a big grab bag. So everybody brought something and you put it in there, and then you reached in the bag and you pulled something out. And I pulled out a 8-pack of Pepsi. And I knew what it was. I mean, I saw the kid bring it in, and I as soon as I felt it, like, because back then, a can of Pepsi was a delicacy.
Yeah,
I mean, we drank
powdered
Faygo, wasn't it?
Faygo and Town Club,
right?
Yeah, Faygo.
So to have an 8-pack of Pepsi, in my possession was like winning the lottery. And I remember walking home with it under my arm proudly, I'm sure, and thinking the whole time, with so many siblings in the house, how many of these will I actually get to drink? So I had to devise a plan to hide the Pepsi.
Well,
and I think there was a hole in the wall when you went up the stairs.
There was.
I think I had a couple different hiding spaces. I think I ended up drinking. I might have given one away. I think someone found them, and I gave one away to keep them quiet, so I could at least enjoy the rest of them. But
so what grade do you think you were in when this?
I would say it was 5th, 6th, something like that.
So this is a picture. This is Christmas, obviously. This is 1964. So Bob down front, him with the white shirt on, is me closer to the oldest brother. That's the 4 boys at the time. Two more came later. So, do you remember Chip Pop Night?
Oh yeah, Chip Pop Night. Actually, that was kind of a tradition I carried on with our kids.
Did you?
I think I used that phrase, Chip Pop Night, with my kids when they were young. So definitely that was huge. I mean, we sort of take that for granted now. It's like you can buy, there's all kinds of drinks you can buy and have in a house, and that back then it was a very special thing.
It was a luxury for us because we didn't drink pop.
I have to interject one other thing. I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the Christ the King Science Awards that Dad won. So,
right.
Science Project Awards. So,
yeah, now you mention that here, I gotta let me.
There has to be a picture of one of my science projects.
Yeah, there is. Did I include it in here? No, shoot, I didn't. Well, I didn't. I thought I had. But yeah, there was the one year you won first prize. You won first place for your dice.
Yeah,
so,
I think 7th grade it was. I think we did I say we, but we did. Dad and I did the project was how an airplane flies. So.
Okay.
I don't actually remember ever constructing any of the parts for that. I think I watched it get done, but that project won first place in the grade and in that division. They had different divisions.
Well, I thought your rolling the dice was the one that
won. No, I think the plane one did, and then we got an invite to go to Coble Hall. They had the
dice
citywide,
right?
And we won. I won an award there as well
for the airplane one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then in 8th grade, we had to, tried to outdo ourselves. And I think Dad said, well, we were throwing around ideas. And he said, how about do a
statistical
thing. Like probability.
Yeah, probability.
And I said, that's great. Let me know when it's done.
Well, I remember throwing dice.
Yeah.
But what you were?
Well, so I was a little upset because Dad said, well, you're going to have to roll these dice for 1,000 times to record all the results. And then it was based on that. So I got a little carpal tunnel with the dice rolling, and
well, I got inside.
But that was a neat project, and I might have won it. Dad might have won an award for that too. So, anyways.
So let's see. Here's there's a lot of pictures early on. We thought you were gonna, maybe get into the military or be a police officer or something. But there's a Christmas. Apparently, that's the outfit you got. Maybe you got a gun or something for Christmas.
Yeah.
So for me, my strongest recollections of growing up were Christmas mornings and camping trips. So talk about Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas, I don't think any of us 11 kids will ever forget how Christmas played out morning. We get up. I gotta say, prior to that, I can remember years, a little bit older, still on Braille though. So I was, probably in that 10, 11 years to 12 or 13 range, maybe 14. I think I was, 14 or 15 when we moved to Northville. But, and it was getting toward Christmas time, and we all had our Christmas wish list. Mm-hmm. And at that time, maybe the whole Santa Claus thing, the people, some of us were younger or older. That was, but Mom and Dad, I figured out at one point they were going out shopping. Mm-hmm. They would go out. So there were these nights, and we only had one car, I think, and there were these nights where they were both going out after dinner. It was dark, and we all knew they were going shopping. Mm-hmm. And I can remember them being gone for a few hours and just, thinking about the great gifts that they're probably buying for me. And they got home. I remember a few times they come home and they parked the car in the driveway near that tree by the porch. Right. And I'm sneaking out of the house, and the car is locked, but I'm looking through all the windows trying to figure out I'm trying to see if I can identify a gift. And but I don't know that I was ever successful with that. They were pretty good at hiding stuff, I think. I don't know where they hid everything.
I'm trying to find I'm looking at the pictures here.
There's the car. I remember that the one picture there, the car is the racetrack. Yeah. That really brings back some memories.
Well, we would I lost the picture I wanted to bring up, but there's, if you remember, here's the.
Was that the game, the football game? Remember that?
Yeah.
that I'll tell a story about that in a minute. But the Christmas morning, of course, we can't. We all know the sheet was up. We'd get up in the morning. We went to Christmas mass in the morning before, and I'm sure none of us could think of anything but opening, having the sheet drop. So we get home. Always came in the back door, not the front door. And there was the sheet up protecting all the gifts from being viewed too early.
Yeah.
And Dad would get up on the chair, or Mom, I think,
or the older siblings, or whatever. Yeah.
And drop the sheet, and we'd all rush in and find our gifts that were bought. So those are very memorable. I think for all of us.
Yeah.
Certainly for me.
Here's what. This is one of the ones I wanted to share. So there's your knights, the fighting knights.
Yeah.
And then we got
the pants. What really sticks out to me are those pants. I mean, those were something else there. I'll tell you.
They're just styling, that's for sure.
But those were, that picture there kind of would bring back memories for all of us. How I remember that bear and that teddy, both the bears. It must have been the bear year or something.
I guess, yeah.
But I remember all of those, actually, the bear and that teddy bear there. I'm not sure why I got a teddy bear, but I hard to believe I asked for it. Maybe.
Well, let's see. This is 70. You're 9 years old.
Any young boy with pants like that probably has a teddy bear, like a comfort bear. I'm sure.
I guess. Now the stair cabinet back there, I still have that in the garage.
No, of course you do.
Yeah. But what we would do is the top of the door here. We put in our matchbox, the traps, and I remember the craze of the Matchbox cars. That was that's some of the most memorable times. We had the tracks and the cars, and we'd race them down. They would go all through the house. There's a picture. Yeah.
Those were really fun. I mean, fun times with the cars. We collected the cars, right?
Yeah, Matchbox. I still got
all that.
Of course, I still got mine.
I think I had some when we first got married, and Brad had when he was probably a year or too old. We gave him some of those. They're long since gone, but great memories. And that's the thing. I think big family. But never really lacked for anything. I think Mom and Dad went out of their way to always have a special Christmas. To always have a nice meal during the big Christmas and Easter, and I remember all the baptisms and confirmations and first communion parties that we always had. Some were us, some were cousins, and all that.
Yeah.
So there's the camping trip.
That's the car. That's a 63 Chevy. And we took that on most of the trips, and then Mom and Dad got a 72 green Ford station wagon, which we used. But so that's me on the far left. Paul, that's a neighbor. This is Paul's here. That's a
photo bomb.
Yeah, right. Anne Marie with the neat hat on it.
Is that the Eddie's house behind there?
That's the Eddie's house with their fiberglass awning.
May or may not tell a story about that. I don't know. That might be one we don't tell.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay.
But we had the car top carrier, and I don't remember Dad tying. It looks like he tied the lawn chairs up on top of the car. I guess Carol and Kathy and Bob.
Well, my memory, I have some memories. Certainly, we all do from our trips. I mean, just looking at that, leave that picture up. Like that kind of sums up our trips, I think. But some of my memories about our camping trips, I remember the one where we I don't know, you probably know where it was. We pitched a tent on a hill, and then there was that the windstorm when we're trying to put the tent up, and we had a stroller. Whose stroller was that?
Paul.
And so Paul just, was he on the trip or?
Yeah.
Okay, so we used the stroller go down the hill, right? I think we destroyed it. Yeah.
We destroyed it. Yeah, and Dad ended up having to. So with the windstorm, the tent actually tore. And Dad had to tie it to a park bench.
Yeah.
To keep it up. Oh yeah.
I mean, we all remember the little portable toilet, so to speak.
Yeah, that was
Stopping on the side of the road. A couple things about the trips were the actual driving in that car, which by today's standards would be horrifying. I mean, no seat belts, packed with kids and camping supplies. I can remember sitting in the back. It was kind of like a jump seat where it faced backwards. There was a back seat and it would fold,
right.
you know, so it was and there were 2 or 3 of us crammed back there, and right at our feet was a rust hole about the size of an apple or even bigger, maybe a grapefruit, and you could actually see the road going by through the hole.
Well,
and it's like, and today it was like, you know, can you imagine having these, you know, 8 and 9-year-old kids back there or younger, and there's a hole in the ground.
Well, there's a picture. I bring it up. There's a picture in the car as we're on a trip, and it's you and Kathy in the back.
Yeah.
And you're because there was the back bench seat, and then there's the back where we stored everything. Well, Kathy is sitting there, and there's like the legs of a lawn chair over her head. It's like, I mean, it doesn't look real.
I'm sure it
safe.
would meet all the safety standards of the day. You know, maybe back then, I'm sure it did. But and then, you know, getting to the campsites and getting the tent up. I remember with the girls and the boys, and we had the divider up. You know, now to me as a kid, that tent seemed huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it seemed like it could, you know, sleep 25 people.
It was big.
I'm sure if that tent was in front of me right now, it would be tiny. It would be about the size of this room, maybe not even that big.
I don't know the actual. I don't remember the dimensions.
I remember we always seemed to have a fire.
Yep.
And I think one of my most memorable moments of the trips was, you know, Dad setting up his little portable bar. You know, in the evening. I'm sure he'd had a long day. We didn't probably appreciate the headaches and and everything he had to go through to get us all there and to keep us all corralled and keep us busy and clean up after us, I'm sure.
On the trip you had an earache.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. But I remember, you know, kind of sitting up by the fire with Dad, and he would always, you know, have his 7 and 7. I think that was his drink of choice most of the time.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have any hesitation to let me take a sip or two out of it.
Well, that, you know? I was going to say, on our camping trips, I think was the first place that we probably got a taste of alcohol, maybe a beer or something. But
Mike mentioned the earache. So we were, I think it was in North Carolina. And there was a pool at the campground, and we had that the year with all the hay barrels or hay.
No, it was a different. We were older.
Okay,
you were older then.
But I remember, I certainly recall that trip in particular. I had developed an earache, probably water getting in the ear. It was pretty painful, and it probably got to a point. Don't know if I got a fever, maybe from the infection. I wasn't feeling real good. I'm sure I was complaining about the earache.
Mm-hmm.
And for for some reason, Dad, you know, thought he needed to take me to get some medical attention, take me to a hospital, whatever. Yeah. So I remember driving. We left late in the evening. It was after dinner. It was maybe even close to bedtime. It seemed like it was kind of late. Mm-hmm. I remember. I think there was some debate, should I take Bob to get some medical, have it looked at or not, or whatever. Ended up deciding to do it. It was late.
I think Carol was on the trip, so she was 16, 17.
Yeah. So Dad and I, we get in the car, and it's late. It's very late. To me, it seemed like it was 10 o'clock at night, and it might have been when we came back. And it was a long drive. To me, it seemed like it could have been a couple hours. Maybe it was an hour, but it was a pretty long hike. And I think we went to North Carolina University, hospital on their campus.
Yeah.
And we get in there, and we finally get into a room, and a doctor comes in, and he's looking me over, and he starts pressing on my stomach, and he's saying, "Well, tell me when it hurts when I mash down." And Dad's response was, "His ears hurt, not his stomach." I think Dad had probably had enough. It'd been a long day, a long drive. The kids, and I'll never forget the "tell me when it hurts." And then Dad and I would joke about that years later. It's like, "Hey, does it hurt when I mash down?" And we were, kind of reminisce about that story. But those were great, certainly great memories. And then CYO camps,
right?
So, as an early,
I think every year, I think we went. You and I went 3 times. We were in the same cabin every year, I believe.
Yeah.
The first year we went, our cousin Ralph went with us.
Yeah.
We were hoping he was going to be in our cabin, but he wasn't. He was, I want to say he was in cabin 8, we were in 9 or something like that. And then the next year we went, we were in cabin 6 each. So there was the main part of the camp where the store was and where the cafeteria was, and that's where like each cabin had a counselor, adult or teenage. They were really basically teenagers. But the lower that the cabin number was, the farther it was away from the main part of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
So then the last year we were in cabin 4, which was down by the lake. But the one thing I made, if you remember this, was having to get up like first thing in the morning and go swim.
Yeah, and it was often it was very cold, but I guess my memories that was I would say as a child, and we were probably, are we talking late 60s, early 70s,
68,
roughly,
69, 70, around there. Yeah.
So it was a very adventurous trip to take.
Mm-hmm.
Back then for me, I remember it very distinctly, where you're leaving, you're 8, 9, 10 years old, whatever, you're leaving home, and you're going to go camp out and stay in these cabins. It was exciting, but a little intimidating at times. I mean, until it had gone a few years. I'm not sure how many years went all together, probably 4 or 5.
Well, we went 3
or 4,
we went
3 times.
And
but
the one year was a little interesting where Dad, to save some money, took us to a different camp.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I guess my memories generally of those was, one, the preparation leading up to it. So here you have, I don't know how many of us went. Didn't the girls go?
Well, the girls,
the boys,
and then maybe 4 or 5 of us going.
There maybe 4 or 5 going. We had these duffel bags and all the clothes for each kid. There were stacks all over the dining room, all over the living room of the clothes, mostly in the dining room area.
Okay.
And Mom putting initials on everybody's underwear, socks, shirts, and all that stuff, getting it all packed up in the bags.
Right.
And then hauling, and then we haul it all down in we went on school buses or generally
they were like tour buses.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's we have some pictures of either when we came back or when we were on our way. So the trip was a 2-week trip.
Yeah.
And the middle weekend, the family would come up and visit. They'd hang out for the day. Like Mom and Dad would come up and maybe bring us stuff, whatever.
Right.
And then they go back home and we stay another
But
week.
Mike mentioned the early, we had to get up early and go swimming. I remember the mudslide
in the creek, because there was a creek that ran through,
which was a riot, but it was, man, we got dirty and didn't the kid get hurt once?
One of the kids got whiplash.
And then they stopped doing it. But we also, I think we got a little stipend from Mom and Dad because they had a little store. You could buy stuff. They had candy. So it pretty much every day.
Yeah, they would open it up
after dinner.
Right. Yeah.
We could go and maybe for a couple pennies or 5 cents buy a little box of candy or something. Remember, that was like the highlight of the day, really.
Yeah, I remember playing Kick the Can.
Yeah.
That was a blast, playing Kick the Can. We compete against other cabins.
I remember being a little envious of Jim because he was in an older and he stayed in an actual tent. I mean,
it was called Pioneer. Tent. Yeah, Pioneer, which was actually across
Yeah.
M22 from where the main camp was.
I mean, he was with the old kids. They had to be what, 14
Oh
years
yeah,
old.
they're all
you know.
15, 14.
But there was an actual Indian tent, and they had campfires, and we were in cabins.
Yeah, we were in
I remember getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. You had to walk across the field to in the dark and in this little old rickety old outhouse almost to go to the bathroom.
I probably shouldn't share this, but I remember I think it must have been the first year that we were there. I wet the bed. I think it was the last time I ever did.
Yeah, but those were great times. Other memories growing up. Having the big family meals every night. We're all around that long table.
Mm-hmm.
Mom would make I'm looking at a desk here in my office. In the office, it's about 5 feet long, maybe 4 by 3, and having the plate almost that size come out with all the chicken legs on it, chicken wings, so to speak. And man, those things got gobbled up. When you're feeding that many kids, certainly buying milk was a problem. So the powdered milk that was on and off. It wasn't all.
It was all the time, no.
So
I do remember drinking that, getting some puffs of powder once in a while.
I mean, I'm kind of a fast eater. I mean, I'll sit down and gobble it down. I've had people, why do you eat so fast? And I think it was being a kid with that many, being a younger kid. Again, I'll remind my older siblings, was one of the younger ones. And you had to eat fast just to get one serving, let alone maybe second. So the faster you ate, the more you could eat. So it was survival of the fittest, I think, at that point.
So this Bob in the backyard, setting up office, looks like.
Well, I was very contemplative back then, apparently, but I remember the fort. A lot of great memories from Braille that had to do. I mean, I think. That's one thing with Dad and Mom. They got us involved in sports. We did a lot of baseball, football, but it wasn't. I feel like I did more sports in our own yard. That side yard, which to me back then was almost as big as a regulation football field.
Right.
But it was a football field. It was a driving range. It was a baseball field. Mm-hmm. That was sort of toward the back of it, toward getting back near. It was an ice rink in the winter. Yeah. There was always sports and activities going on, which was kind of neat. And later on, probably when I got into golf, I'll tell a story about that kind of. This is kind of, Jim's at fault with that too. I'll work that in here in a second. But, when I got into golf, when we got into golf, really was around Mom and Dad kind of got in around the same time they did. They were probably early 50s.
No, they were in their late 40s.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say 1970.
Right. So a couple memories about that. I had plastic balls. I had a couple golf clubs. I don't even know if I had a full set. I'd come home from school and we would hit golf balls, have holes all the way around the backyard, the side yard. Sometimes you'd say, okay, I'm teeing off here by the street. You go back the athletic field, I'll call it. Yeah. There's a tree in the backyard we're playing to. Maybe it's a par 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. Did that for hours. Yeah. Played many, many tournaments doing that.
Played a lot of plastic baseball there too.
But golf wasn't an outdoor sport back then. Also, it was an indoor sport, wasn't it?
Yeah, for us.
I mean, we had a perfect house. When Mom and Dad got into it, and we were getting into it. We had the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the addition all lined up. It was perfect to hit golf balls, and we would hit them off that plastic. We'd hit them off that carpet, that old black carpet, whatever, and they'd go shooting around. I remember Amory and Jeannie and maybe some of the girls saying how they got golf balls flying around. They're coming downstairs with the steps were right there, and they'd open up the door and there's balls bouncing around. They felt like their life was in danger. So I mean, just a lot of sports. And Dad coached. Here's a picture. I remember the West 7.
This is the All-Star team.
The All-Star team. You're not sure how we got on that, but
I'm not on it.
Oh, you're not on it. I don't even know how I got on it.
That's you. You're the second from the left in the front. That's you.
Yeah.
And then the big kid, middle. Yeah. Remember his name?
I don't.
Chuck Hool.
Okay.
He is a big left. I was scared of him because he was left-handed pitcher.
Yeah.
And of course, in the
It might have been the All-Star game. I think it was. I remember in one of the games I was out in right field, so that was. I think the coach I did play first base a lot. I remember playing first base a lot, but this All-Star game they put me out in right field. So the biggest kid in the league to me, I was. What was I? Maybe 4 foot nothing.
I don't know.
And this kid was like 6 foot tall, and he was like, all right,
Chuck Hool here.
And maybe it was, but it was on the other team. It was the opposing team.
Okay.
And he comes up to bat. Everybody knew this kid. He was huge, and he gets up to bat, and I think he was a right-hander. And I'm like, please don't hit the ball to me. Whatever you do, I remember, don't hit the ball toward me. Number one, I probably can't run fast enough to get it, because it was going to go over my head. And it's going to be coming so fast, it might knock me out. So sure enough, he hits the ball to me.
Okay.
And I see this ball coming, 250 miles an hour through the air. I remember putting up my glove. I think I put it up to protect my face more than anything. And somehow the ball went in the glove and it knocked me over. And when
But you caught the ball.
Caught the ball.
Oh.
So that was the highlight of my baseball career.
Well, you made the All-Star team. I mean, I played 2 seasons. You might have played more than that, but I played 2 seasons. I got 1 hit in 2.
Yeah.
So
I did give a little go at the 7th and 8th grade Christ the King football.
I did too.
Yeah. So I remember, I think 7th grade, and the coach was Anne-Marie's friend's boyfriend. Remember?
Rowley?
What was her good friend?
Oh, Deidre.
Yeah, it was her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
I forget his name. But anyways, I remember in 7th grade having the practices, and I think we had them over at the
Reed Park.
that little park that was
Reed
near
Park,
near the high school, near the public high school.
Oh, I thought it was Reed Park up over on Pier.
Yeah, it might have been in a couple different, but I remember running with the ball and getting hit or tackled, and I twisted my knee, and the knee swelled up, and I remember it was sore for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was limping home, and I don't think I had any medical attention. It finally got better.
Yeah.
And that's another kind of a funny story. I mean, I was I went out for like a football team, thinking it was a great idea, but I was scared, whatless. Just playing against some of these kids. So there was a kid on the team that was, again, he was about 6 foot tall. Probably, to me, looked like he weighed 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Huge kid, a monster. And they had this drill where you had half the team lined up on one side. They had these 2 dummy bags that you had to stay inside that perimeter. Mm-hmm. They were about 4 feet apart. Yeah. So the one line would get the ball. So when you come to the front of the line, if you're on the ball side, you get the ball. Okay. The other line was the tackler. He would tackle you. So the guy with the ball had to run and try to get past
the
other guy.
Okay.
And I remember this one time we all lined up. I was on the ball side, and I'm looking and I'm counting. The huge guy, the monster, is on the other side. And I'm running the math, and I realized that he and I are going to go head to head. I didn't sign up for this. This is not fair. I'm too small. This guy's a monster. Right. And I'm telling you what, I got the ball. The coach hands me the ball, and that's the last thing I remember. I think the guy, I remember him demolishing me. But, my football career ended pretty soon after that, I think. But
so, obviously, mom and dad. So, your recollection, your remembrances of them growing up.
Yeah.
Your relationship with them, that sort of thing.
Well,
I know. Well, let me just share this. I was the whiner, and I was very good at being able to whine.
Oh yeah.
Bob in trouble.
Yeah.
For instigating. So he got in trouble more than me because I would go whine to mom and dad because Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and then the time that a great example, Mike, was you were taunting me about something.
Golf. Oh, you mean when I chased you?
Well, you were taunting me, and I was, I can only take so much. I mean, my gosh, I'm human.
I was taunting you,
and we had gotten out of the pool, and we're downstairs getting, we had our suits on and all that.
Okay.
And I had a wet towel, and I started That was when I snapped you.
Okay.
And then you chased me. After I snapped you, you chased me out of the basement all the way through the front yard, and then that's when you slipped and cut your leg a little bit.
I don't remember that. I remember that you were the first time you beat me in golf.
Yeah.
And that's when I chased you.
Well, that might have been. I don't know. Maybe
anyway.
The stories are the same or similar, but
Bob and I growing up. Bob and I would say we had a love-hate relationship.
Right. But it was all good. It was good childhood experiences for sure. But one other thing I gotta talk about Braille. Well, at least one more story. So, Braille, the house configuration wasn't really ideal for anywhere from, I don't know that all 11 kids were there at the same time. Maybe not.
No, Becky and I were just talking about that. The most was 10.
Okay, so then there's a beauty there with the leisure suit. I still remember that. Yeah. That was a dandy. I was very proud of that suit, by the way. I wore it very proudly back then. Anyways, notwithstanding that, so for anywhere from 8, 9, 10 kids plus parents to live in that, there was only technically
one bathroom. For what?
One bathroom, but technically 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
I know that for a long time, mom and dad were at the front bedroom. And then there was the bathroom, then there was another bedroom. Yeah. And that's where the 4 of us, like you and me and Jim and maybe Paul, whatever. Yeah. And then, as you got older, though, I mean, here you're living in a room with 4 kids. It's just no privacy, no nothing.
Right.
And I had an idea one time when you went up the stairs, on the right and the left, you had these little lofty cutout things. I don't even know what they were there for. And I think I don't remember how I got a hold of this, but I got a hold of a cot. The mattress, it was literally a cot you unfolded, and the mattress was maybe about 1/8 of an inch thick. And I set that up in one of those side. I think it was on the left. Yeah. I mean, I had a desk in there. I had that, and it was. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I mean, it was unbelievable to have this cot. I slept there for I think a couple of years.
Jim slept on the one.
Yeah, he slept on the other side. Yeah.
And then when you went through the one on the right side, there was a bedroom, and then you go further to another bedroom, and then the attic was.
Yeah.
Behind
right.
Yeah.
But anyways, in that attic, that's as a kid, it wasn't a scary place. To me, it was scary to go in there.
Yeah, it was a certain place.
Like you would go in the attic. The basement, all the way in the back of the basement was like you don't go there past the cold and the furnace. You don't go to that back part.
Right.
But that attic upstairs, like you could go in, and I remember it went kind of to the right and it was and to the left.
Yeah.
Now, to me, going left, man, you just don't go there very often.
Well, remember the cedar chest was there. Yeah. Remember that big red.
Yeah,
brown chest.
But that, those, again, just a lot of the stuff coming back,
There was a coal room.
Yeah, the coal room was.
Which we didn't use.
Right.
So this is a picture of Bob and I. It looks like we're playing Go for the Green. So one Christmas we got Go for the Green and a football game called Pay Dirt.
Yeah.
And that's where playing these 2 games is where our hate relationship. I mean, you were always beating me. Yeah. And Dad was like, well, let him win once in a while. So that's the things I would whine about and get Bob in trouble. Yeah. But he just was luckier at these games. So.
Well, I'd rather be lucky than good. So anyways, thinking about Mom and Dad and kind of what certainly, we all know this as parents, that as you get older, and you have your own kids. Boy, I don't remember that picture. That was
Dad took you.
I wonder if that was Kalani.
Yeah.
I'll tell the story about that.
This is June 76. But anyway.
Well, let me tell the story about that. That would have been 14. So that probably wasn't. I didn't even know that picture existed. So that's kind of neat.
I love the pants.
The pants.
I think we all wore those.
We all wore those. I think I wore them with some.
Well, that was the thing about
black tip high heeled shoes. Like
a lot of the clothes were hand me down. So Jim wore those. I wore those. You wore those. So.
but dressed very smartly though for a golf tournament with the visor and everything. Anyways, I haven't used a short putter like that in 20 years now. But anyways, my first golf tournament, I don't think it was that. I was 13. It was a qualifier for like the PGA Junior National Tournament, and they had a sectional qualifier, and you had a couple different qualifying levels. But at that time, I don't know. I would say I could probably shoot in the 90s, roughly. On a good round, might be 95 or something like that. So, Dad, I got signed up for this tournament, and of course, Dad drove me to the tournament. It was at Gowani. I don't know if it's even still a club in the Detroit area, but. And I had never played. It was a private club. I had never played on anything like this. And it was unbelievable. I mean, the condition of the fairways, the tees, the greens. Anyways, so I went out and Dad takes an absolutely miserable round of golf. I shot 119.
Yeah.
And I was so upset by it. I told Dad, I said, I'm not posting my score. It's embarrassing. And Dad was like, no, you played, you post your score. So I think a little life lesson there, and maybe today some parents would say, yeah, well, let's just get out. We won't post that score, Johnny. Or give you 12 reasons why, excuses why you played bad. The bottom line, I played terrible. I was probably nervous my first tournament.
Yeah.
But Dad said, no, you're posting the score. I thought, looking back on that, that was kind of says a lot about his character and kind of a life lesson that just kind of happened. But mom and dad, Dad, to me, they had a lot, I had three young kids at one time. I know Kathy had 12. She can relate to this. And we all had somewhere in the, 2, 3 kids, 4 or 5, whatever. But, there's a lot going on. And what I remember is, one, Dad would be, he was hands-on guy. He got us involved in stuff. He did a great job looking back on getting us to being a part of our lives, not just being there and, going to work. I heard a story one time that I think Mom told me that he turned down some promotions because getting into management would take away from, spending time at home. I think Mom told me that one time. So that's the kind of guy he was. Family came first. He was a hands-on guy. How many times did we go downstairs and one of the appliances was broke? And we had, there were 1,200 parts laying all around. And he was taking the thing apart, putting it back together.
Or working on cars. Yeah. We would do that as well.
Was Dad strict? Yeah, he was strict. I guess, he was strict. But looking back on it, it was we deserved it.
At times
we deserved the strict, but I think strict in a good way. I don't think he was over the top strict. I think he would he'd like to get that belt out every now and then. And many times
more so with you than me because but speaking of that, and so Dad was the disciplinarian, and when we would get in trouble with Mom, I would, beg her, don't tell Dad. But it spoke to their marriage, their relationship that she had to tell him. Yeah. What's going on with your, for acting, being bad, she can't just keep it to herself, but she, that was the closest of how good the relationship was, their marriage was, that they shared all that stuff. Yeah. So we would get the spanking at the end of the day.
Dad was, he was involved in our sports and activities. He was involved in our school a lot.
Yeah.
I remember having, I was playing baseball at the time, so I might have been 5th, 6th grade, or I don't know. When do you learn your multiplication tables back then? 3rd grade, 4th grade?
4th, 5th, yeah.
And I was really struggling with multiplication tables. And it was in the spring. Well, it had to be later than that. It might have been in the fall when school was started, and we were. And then, but I remember having a Dad sat down actually and wrote out all the multiplications tables on these cue cards.
Yeah.
So on one side, 2 times 2, and the other side was the answer.
Okay.
And he wrote them all out, like for the 1s through the 12s, with that. And he worked with me for hours, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we would sit there and we'd go through and he'd play a game. He goes, all right. And then I remember I was getting pretty good at it. We worked on it.
Mhm.
I remember going to the baseball banquet.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and we're sitting at the banquet. It's a long table, kids, other boys and dads and moms sitting there. And through the whole meal, Dad's like 6 times 6. And then and then a few minutes later, 4 times 3. And he did that the whole time. But
Yeah.
I think that tells a lot about the kind of person he was and his character. And certainly, he one of the greatest gifts that he gave me, and I thank him for it, and Mom both, is our faith, is my Catholic faith. And we all, growing up, as we got into high school and college, maybe we didn't always stay, close to our faith. We might have fallen away and so forth, but we all had that upbringing and Dad's involvement, Mom's involvement. I remember the family rosaries and all that. We didn't go into church. You never missed mass. And
they built the foundation.
Yeah, they built the foundation, and many of us came back. We all know where to go. We wanted to go back, and we had that foundation. But as looking back on both of them, that's the greatest gift. The gift, certainly the gift of life. I mean, they gave me the gift of life, but they gave me the gift of faith, and I cherish that
So
to this day.
Yeah, this was Christmas '83. So Mom and Dad and Bob and I.
Yeah, that's the Saginaw Valley. I went to Saginaw Valley. I think that might have been a Saginaw Valley golf sweater, but so that was '83.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was before I was married.
Right.
And there's the tie. I think Dad had that more of that tie a lot. Didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was like.
Right, Mom. To me, as I look back, Mom was just a stable, always home, always there. Wasn't necessarily a disciplinarian, but definitely a few times would get a little angry.
Yeah.
At me.
Yeah. Okay.
Not you.
Oh yeah. No, she did. I said an off-color word once, and she got the bar of soap in my mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, if I wish I had $1 for every time I heard "Wait till Dad gets home."
Yeah. Well, yeah. Right.
And on that note, there were times when it was like a slow death march. I mean, Dad got home like at 6 o'clock every night, right about at 6 o'clock. Yeah. I mean, almost on the button.
Right.
And you watch that clock. It's one of those days. Had a bad day. Wait till Dad gets home, and about 5:45, I would crawl up to the bedroom because I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching the clock. It was like, the hands, the second hands, the hands of the clock, they never moved. It seemed like, when are we going to get to 6 and get this over?
Get this over with.
So then you'd hear the car, the front door. You hear maybe Dad and Mom greet each other, after Dad got home from work. And then some minutes pass, and sometimes it was like, maybe she's not going to say anything. And then you'd hear the footsteps coming up the stairs.
Yeah.
And then you knew it was Dad coming, and it was all good. I mean, looking back on it, but the next day or that day later, Dad would be back to being Dad and helping you out with something.
He would kind of make it up, sort of, not justify what we did, but he's like, well, he would. Yeah, but the anger was gone.
Yeah.
So he was like.
I remember though one time, the getting, I don't know about any of the other kids, but when you're getting the belt treatment, I would be, I would just sit there and take it, and not show any emotion or anger or hey that hurt. I would just sit there and take it like it wasn't happening. I guess that was, I don't know. And then years later, talking to Dad, he said to me one time, he goes, "Yeah, that used to really irritate me. You guys, when I hit you with the belt a couple of times, you acted like nothing even happened, So, but Mom was always there. I think she was the heart of the home. She There was always, three squares a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, big dinners put out for a bunch of kids every day. And, was a great mom.
Well, now, when we were going to Christ the King, we lived close enough where we couldn't stay at the school for lunch.
Yeah.
We had to go home,
Yeah.
and she'd have lunch for us.
Yeah. Looking back, one of the things about mom that always, I guess to say envious of this, and I'm not good at it myself, but even looking back as a kid and as an adult with mom, I almost never heard her say a negative thing about anybody. I mean, she was, I guess she kind of lived by what she would tell us at times when we would get in a fight or something, and she would say a lot, and Dad would too. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I think Mom lived by that
She
herself.
did. I think she did. When I mentioned I did the interview with our Uncle Ralph, and our cousin Paul was there, and Paul was kind of reminiscing about like his aunts and uncles and so forth, and he was comparing our Aunt Virginia with Mom. They were sisters, and he kind of described Aunt Virginia as like the vivacious kind of the party type of person, and your word he used for Mom was benevolent, which I thought that's his reminiscence of Mom, his aunt, who he knew a little. He knew, but not like. And I think that's a good word.
I think Dad. Someone might. I've had people ask me, or I've been, somewhere and said, "Well, what kind of life lessons did you learn from your parents?" Okay, something like that. And I think there were a lot of things. One in particular, I think Dad instilled in us a work ethic and responsibility. Both of them, both parents, really. I don't mean to just single out. I mean, Mom too. She was a hard worker, raising all those kids and taking care of all that. But I mentioned earlier about my starting golf and how Jim was at fault. So Jim got a job caddying at Plum Hollow,
right?
And then you and I followed. But
right.
I can remember almost to this day still, sound asleep. It was I want to say it was in the fall. Might have been in the spring, but it seems like it was in the fall. I was probably 12 years old and sound asleep, and I get waken up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. And Dad's like, "Doc, got to get up." And I'm like, What do you mean I got to get up? He goes, "You're going to go to work. You're going to go caddy."
Okay.
So, and I said, "Really? I mean, I really got to do that?" And I guess that was my introduction to golf. So
you had not played golf. You had not played golf prior to that.
I don't think I played. I may have just started, maybe. So that would have been 74 ish, 75 in that range. I might have just started to play, but not much. And I think Dad, getting me out of bed at a young age, get me in. And believe me, we had to go caddy. We couldn't take off, a lot of days. I remember we moved out to Northville, so I was going. It was the summer before 10th grade for me.
Okay.
So you were going to be a
senior.
Senior. And but we still caddied sometimes at Plum Hollow.
Right.
I remember going down there that summer as we moved out here. So we were living in Northville, and Mike and I remember the day we decided we were going to
skip golf,
skip caddy, and walk home from Plum Hollow to Northville.
I thought we rode our bikes out there while or just before they started building the house.
We talked about this. I remember walking.
Okay.
Not riding.
That's
the
an
bike.
awful long walk.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it took us all day.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what time we left. I remember getting here at 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
I don't know.
So, those. But just great memories that continued on. I mean, I think as I got older and started my own family and career and continued playing golf, and I mean, when I would have big moments in my life, whether it's Kelly pregnant or a golf tournament, some maybe success in some tournament or career or something, the first thing I want to do is call Mom and Dad and share it with them, and just maybe you're still looking for that mom and dad pat you on the back,
Yeah.
so to speak, and say, "Hey, good job," But I think they enjoyed it, listening and hearing that, and that's one of the things as an adult that I miss the most is not being able to call them up and just sharing stories about what's going on,
Right.
So they're always a good listener. Mom was a great listener, and
had some advice and such. Yeah. Here's your graduation from Saginaw.
That was Saginaw Valley
Kathy.
graduation. That's where I met Kelly at Saginaw Valley. She was the All-American track runner, so that was a hard time for me catching her, but I was
but
able to pull it off.
Eventually you did, yeah. So there's
there it is.
Are.
85, so this is 36 years this year. You were my best man, so I still remember that whole it was a fun day.
And you had so the rehearsal dinner was at the Vassal's,
right?
Her parents' house the night before.
Kelly's. It was right around Thanksgiving, so we had kind of a Thanksgiving rehearsal dinner at Kelly's parents' house.
I'm actually kind of I feel proud, I guess, but I had your bachelor party and Mark's and Paul's at my apartment. Went up to the apartments, and then when I got married, then we played golf, and then we went over to Mark's.
Yeah. I know. Dad came to my bachelor party. Had a few beers.
Well, we were
playing some cards.
That was funny. We were playing cards, and Jerry came.
Yeah.
Our friend Jerry Thomas came, and we were playing cards, and I think somebody said something about who laid that queen, with an innuendo, or maybe there was some swearing going on, and Dad usually he
might have been, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, I remember that, and there was some swearing going on, and I was kind of like looking at Dad, like he wasn't, but usually he would say, "Hey."
We didn't, one thing that we talked about, kind of going over is aunts and uncles.
So obviously for us, I would, at least for me, okay, I'm gonna say this for Dean and Dorothy. Dorothy was our dad's sister, and Dean, her husband, and they were like second parents to us.
They were very involved, they were around all the time, all the big holidays and first communions and Christmas especially and all that. I know Jim enjoyed the Christmas parties.
Yeah. Right.
But I seem like I'm getting on Jim a lot, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
Well, when he does his, he can.
When he does his,
comment.
He
but
can
no, I can remember, I guess, on Mom's side with all the aunts and uncles. My recollection was getting around. I think a lot of our family's sense of humor came from that side in some respects. I know that Dorothy had a little bit of a sense of humor.
It was kind of a ride. It was kind of
but I can remember many times, Howard and Ralph and Don and Mom, and then Tom was older and that, and Susie, they were all sitting around and they're telling stories and laughing and just carrying on with a great time. And I can remember those times. I can remember all the first crowding into our house on Braille with the first communions, the parties, and them all coming over. But Dean and Dorothy, certainly, we did a lot with them, and they did a lot with us. And
we would go out. So they moved to Pinckney from Detroit in '74. And I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it, but I do remember a picture of you and Jim and Dean out on their property planting trees.
Yeah, I remember going out, and they were little pine trees.
Just
little trees.
Yep.
And I remember when he put in that pond in the back, that little lake almost, dredged that out.
He put fish in it so we could, fish in it and throw them back or whatever.
I think some of my greatest memories was going out, Dean's shop, working. Right. Not only did we go out there, can you remember all the times when they'd have these boxes of parts and mom and dad and the older girls and even us, we had to put the parts together.
Yeah,
and
they
all
had.
that.
Yeah, we had these boards that had like hairpins, plastic hairpins stuck through, and we had to stack them up on those. Yeah.
But I remember, going out and spending a whole Saturday, and sometimes it was overnight, maybe.
Or we
Yeah.
one time we were mowing their lawn,
Right.
mowing lawns.
But I love to go out there because, first
They
of
had
all,
pop.
they had Pepsi.
Right.
Dean loved his Pepsi.
Or Pepsi or Coke.
Yeah. And, I never forget Dean. He'd sit on that leather couch. He wouldn't usually have a shirt on, being the summer.
Right. Yeah.
No shoes on. They had the dog,
Yeah.
little poodle, or not poodle, but.
Well, they had Ollie and
Yeah.
Peanuts.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'd go to that shop, and I loved going there. First of all, I had that little office. And it was
Filled with
crowded.
smoke.
Dean was smoked, and
His
his assistant
secretary.
and all that. And then we'd go out, and there were 2 or 3 guys that worked in the shop, the machine shop, and we would help out and do different things, clean up, sweep.
Yeah.
But we always went down the street and had the breakfast. I love that.
Yeah.
The
Little restaurant called Aunt Betty's.
fried eggs, the whole fixings, the potatoes, the bacon, and all that. So great memories there. I know, again, delicacy at the time, a McDonald's hamburger. So I remember one time I think you and I don't know if Kathy, there were a few of us with Dean, and I don't know where we were going or whatever. And, we would stop at McDonald's and get a McDonald's. Man, that was again, dying and going to heaven with that delicacy. And every time I would go somewhere with him, I was just praying that we would stop at a McDonald's. I mean, it's like, just please stop. I mean, but boy, that's your wedding.
That's my wedding. Yeah.
My goodness.
Bob was my best man.
That looked like he had a little bit of heat.
Yeah, a little bit.
Without his.
Yeah.
But
that was in 1995.
Well, we had a lot of hair back then.
Yeah. Not much left now. But it was that. And then I got one other picture to throw up here. I'm sure Bob would like to see this one here.
Yeah. That's boy, so many memories. But that was a trip that was absolutely. It had a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It was, first of all, that was when it was in 2000 fall, November of 2000. Mom and Dad and I, we went to Italy, and
I got to go here and put us back on and share one other photo we're going to share here of the trip to Italy with so there's
so this was at the end. I believe this was at the end of the trip. So at the end of the trip, we went to Assisi. We also, around that same time, went to San Giovanni Rotondo, where Padre Pio was buried and where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
But this was we came down the hill. We came down the hill of Assisi. And we were. I don't know where we were walking, but we were going somewhere clearly in that picture. I think I was walking ahead of them and kind of turned around and snapped that photo. Thought it was a neat little picture.
I can't find. There was another picture that of you were in a shop somewhere.
Yeah.
And Mom.
Yeah, we were buying. They said you got to buy. That was that's in San Giovanni.
Hold on, I got to bring it up. Anyway, there was you were in a shop and there's a picture of Mom. It's a really nice picture of.
We were in there buying some. I was buying some purses for Kelly, and I think Mom picked up a couple things with a little leather store that was in San Giovanni, and just really a blessing to have gone on that trip, really, and experience that with them. That was the first time I was really out of the country, like or in Europe. So personally, it was a lot of fun, but it was kind of a neat that it was kind of a pilgrimage sort of thing. We had mass every day. We had a priest with us and went to the catacombs and went all over. Really, some really neat stops on that trip. So,
so
great memories.
So there we are. That's Bob's reminiscence of our life, Mom, Dad, our family, and so forth. So thanks for tuning in. We'll get this out on YouTube sometime, and hope you all enjoy it.
And I put out a plea.
Go ahead.
Other siblings, do this with Mike. It was fun to reminisce, and I think that all of us, you could kind of say it was my idea, or at least I threw it out
yeah,
there.
it was. No,
That
yeah,
it would be
really
neat. I would love to be able to watch, Tom and Susan and everybody else's memories. Hopefully maybe you all heard a few stories that you hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to say, hey, siblings, you guys do it, and I think you would enjoy doing it, and it was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Thank Mike for doing this.
It's a labor of love. As when after mom and dad were gone, I started working on Family Tree. I just kind of looked at it as labor.
Yeah.
It's for me, it's been very fascinating. So thanks, Bob.
All right. Yep.